And we're in. Hey, Jill, how's it going?
It's going. How are you?
Very good. Welcome, everyone, to This Week in the Grotto. This is episode 12. This is part 4 of our lifestyle, exercise, and nutrition series. And today we are going to pick up where we left off a long, long time ago with mindfulness. But before we get into our topic of the day, we definitely have a few announcements we have to make. And like we do every week on the podcast, we will be giving away one of our You Evolve Buffalo keychains. So make sure to leave us a review on our You Evolve Buffalo Facebook page. Each week we pick one of our favorite reviews. We announce it in the first opening minutes of the podcast, and then that person receives a free keychain. And this week's review is from Megan Ann. She writes, I can't say enough about UEB. The trainers are fantastic and are invested in each of their clients. They have diverse classes and programs that can pretty much suit everyone. The Grotto is always full of laughs, and somehow the workouts are always fun, even when they are not. Smiley face. Oh, 1 minute. Get out of there, Sam. So Megan Ann, you are the winner of a keychain. I can hold on to that. Hopefully we'll be seeing you soon, or maybe I should just mail it to you. So I'll reach out to you, get you an address, and maybe we'll get that out in the mail. Either way, you have yourself a keychain coming.
She'll be thrilled.
She'll be thrilled. Yeah, know where to go with it. She can put her keys on it. The last episode we left off with, we were talking about exercise, nutrition. And today we're going to talk about mindfulness. Before we get into that topic, Jill, we definitely have to mention the remote training. So why don't we jump right in with that? We have a separate private remote training Facebook group, and for members only who want to sign up for a monthly subscription, we've been doing a lot of remote videos 7 days a week on there. It's turning out to be quite the program. I know I'm doing 3 a week with mostly, excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. Mostly resistance training. Jill is doing 3 workouts a week with mostly body weight training, also implementing in, some rush hour, her beats class. Meg is doing Dance Evolution. We have Angel doing some yoga classes on there. And in the very near future, in the next week or so, I think we're going to be seeing some appearances from Maureen and Allie and really expanding the program. We're bringing in some nutritional aspects to the program for people that are interested. A lot of good stuff being offered there. All of the classes that we do, Jill has been typing up the actual routines and posting them so people can put them into the regular repertoire in the future. All videos are done live, and they're also posted for people to go back and do at their leisure in case they're not available for when the live workouts are being done. So I think people are really enjoying it and getting a lot out of the remote training. Even though, I think everybody would be real happy to be in person doing it, but this is kind of the way things have been trending. This was definitely going to be an aspect of the You Evolve Buffalo business plan. It just kind of got here a little faster than we thought. So we were a little bit prepared for it. We had some ideas in place. And I believe now that we've started it, that this will continue to be an aspect of You Evolve Buffalo. It's not going to go away. It's just going to be in addition to.
Yeah. I think that because you and I had kind of had prior conversations and had this kind of in our heads already, we got a little bit lucky with that because in, the unfortunate circumstances, at least we weren't, I don't want to say not blindsided because that might not be the way, but at least we had a little bit of preparation to put some things together.
We are offering a referral program. So if somebody refers two people to the UEB remote training program, that person will get a month free of the UEB remote program. So I'm sure there are a lot of people still out there that don't have access to the regular gyms, training studios, are out of their normal routine.
Yeah, especially now that this has been extended another month. I think, maybe people weren't necessarily thinking like, oh, we just got to get through this month. But now we don't really know. We don't really know what's going on as to when we'll get back into it. This might be a shot.
We know minimum in New York State, we have about another 4 weeks ahead of us. So even if you were to jump on that now, and I'm telling you, if you've been on the sidelines, I don't think you want to go another 4 weeks. Think about that. I mean, if you have
2 months,
2 months, that's 2 out of 12 months. That's a big chunk of time. And that's assuming that you've been in a pretty good routine leading up to that.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of, it's not like you need a lot of equipment to do this. I mean, most of the routines require no equipment. We do a few of them a week that are just some very light dumbbells. And I know it sounds like, well, what kind of workout can I be getting, in with just, some light dumbbells? Well, first of all, better than nothing that you're not doing for starting, right? So better than zero. And you have to trust that we know how to intensify the workouts where a set of 12-pound dumbbells is, feeling like a set of 50s.
Yeah.
So there's things like pacing, tempos, change of repetitions, circuit training, time under tension, there's a lot of different ways to make a workout more challenging other than just pile on more weight. And believe me, I know if I can challenge myself with it, the average person certainly will be challenged with it. And obviously there's people that have access to more weights than that. But I assure you, for the average person, if you have anywhere from 5, 8, 10, 12-pound dumbbells, you are going to get a very effective workout that will keep you depending on where your physical fitness is at, either in shape, so when it's time to go back to your regular training, you're not going to miss a beat. And in some cases, if you have not been doing consistent resistant training, you can come out of this in better shape than when you started. And of course, the linchpin is always going to be nutrition, which is a challenge. But today we're going to focus on mindfulness, which may even be the bigger challenge under the circumstances.
Yeah, that's, I would say, probably, at least I would say for myself, probably the biggest hurdle.
Do you have any other announcements you want to make?
I do.
Okay, why don't we do that?
Actually,
and we'll jump right into it before we get too far ahead.
So You Give Buffalo, even through all of this, we decided together as a committee that even though this is a little bit of a challenge, because a lot of the things that we do, like for instance, June was going to be the Run the Berg for autism. And I'm not sure if that's been canceled yet. I'm not 100% certain on that. But for all intents and purposes, any events that were going to be requiring large gatherings, they've really just started canceling all of that. And we had an idea that that's probably how this is going to have been going down. And some of the things that we had originally intended and planned, because we try to plan like 3 to 6 months at a time, just to get some ideas. So we have, people can get into contact who they need to, and so on and so forth. So what we originally had planned for April, May, and June was completely different. But, we had decided that regardless of the circumstance, we still wanted to um, be consistent and committed to this cause. This is actually May will be month 19 that we have done consecutive community service, give back, donation collections, whatever you want to call it. This May is going to be month 19, which I'm really excited about, that we've been able to every single month for over a year and a half now, been able to, give back and, kind of spread kindness. So what we're going to be doing for the month of May, we are going to announce this tomorrow, actually. And we will be letting everybody know. We're going to be calling it Delivery for Deliverers. And pretty much what that is going to entail we have a week set aside from May 3rd to May 9th. And what we're encouraging people to do is basically to say thank you to the people who are delivering. It could be your groceries. It could be FedEx, UPS, the Postal Service, whatever the case is. Basically just a thank you. It doesn't have to necessarily be anything of monetary value. We did discuss maybe like small denomination gift cards, or it's up to each person what they'd like to do. I'm going to probably also have the girls like just make thank you cards, or even just kind of something to kind of boost the spirits and the morale. And then even things like the little water bottles. We have to be careful because, as you mentioned, there are going to be certain things like, I don't know that anyone's going to want baked goods considering the circumstances, but I think there are ways that we can give back, say thank you, and kind of just do some things to brighten their day as they're going about their business. I know that I've seen the mailman on Sunday, which I didn't even know that was a thing. So I don't know if everybody is just so busy, maybe with people being laid off, whatever the case is, that their hours have been extended. But just to do it, kind of brighten the day a little bit. So we will be making the official announcement about that tomorrow. And we're looking forward to month 19.
And last Friday, you guys had a successful blood drive, right?
Yeah, we did. That was probably actually that's the third blood drive that we've hosted, and that was the most successful blood drive that we've had. We had 24 contributors come, and it was by appointment only. Usually we have walk-ins, but that we didn't have that capability for this one. But every single time slot was filled. I was really impressed. We did have one person who their husband had gotten called into work, but I had people that had messaged me that all the sign-up spots were full. And, I reached out and I said, in the instance that a spot is available, I'll shoot you a message. And we were able to actually fill that spot. So, yeah, that was a great success. And we are going to, for June, have another one on Friday, June 5th. So that is actually lined up already as well, just because we had so many people and there is still such a need for the blood in the community.
Fantastic. Good stuff. I'm sure the people that need it greatly appreciate it. Anything else, or you want to? We pretty good for now.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll be, and you definitely want to watch our Facebook, You Evolve Buffalo Facebook page, because we'll be doing more live videos on there. Probably going to jump on there on tomorrow, and also watch the other videos on YouTube. We've been posting some short little videos, helpful, exercises and stretches, simple things that you can do home if, under the circumstances that you can't get into your regular routine. These are just some free tips and stuff that you can implement very easily and you don't have to be a part of any of the online programming.
And Kinesis Kids.
And Kinesis Kids, what are you doing that twice a week, Jill? You and the girls?
Yeah, we got 2 times a week going on Tuesday, Thursday. We were just switching the time to about 10:30 a.m. is what we're going to be shooting for.
So yeah, I know in New York State, schools are still closed till at least May 15th. Pretty good chance that they're not going to return at all, and we'll be right into summer vacation. So during that time period, I mean, where kids would normally be getting in their gym class or a little more activity and out of the house, and it's even a good break for the parents. They can tune in to Jill and the girls twice a week, doing their exercise routine, and it's fun, fun stuff for the kids. I know the girls are helping Jill write the routines, participating in the routines, get some energy out. And who knows, maybe even the kids might take a liking to it and inspire them to want to put their own routines together themselves. So a lot of good stuff there.
Well, and it's nice too, because a lot of them, like you said, I do them with the girls. So if the parents wanted to get involved, they could do them with their kids. If they need to just have, or usually I would say I've been trying to keep them to about between 10 and 20 minutes or so. So if parents want a few minutes to themselves, and then, kids can reap the benefits of exercise just as adults can. I mean, it's a mood booster for adults. It's going to be the same thing for children. This is a good way for them to kind of boost their mood and kind of expend some energy as well.
And the videos, if you can't make the time and do them live, just like with our remote training, the videos are posted, so you can always go back and revisit them. If you go back into our feed or go under our video tab on the Facebook page, you'll find all the videos there too. So you can revisit them too. You might find one that the kids like and go back and do them again the next day.
Yeah.
So a lot of free resources out there for people looking for some fitness stuff. Today, mindfulness. So what I did was let's get a clear definition of what we mean by mindfulness. So according to the dictionary, mindfulness, the quality or state of being conscious or aware of something. Secondary definition is a mental state achieved by focusing one's awareness on the present moment, while calmly acknowledging and accepting one's feelings, thoughts, and bodily sensations, used as a therapeutic technique. And I think I think those are great definitions. They cover a lot. And I think when people think about mindfulness, sometimes they just think about the mental state and don't make the connection of the physical sensations, the bodily sensations, and that connection, and not realizing that your body is almost like an antenna. And people say it like, oh, I got that feeling in the pit of my stomach. I just felt it in my bones. There's those expressions. And that is that bodily connection and that intuition that if you follow it, most people would probably agree that their intuition is mostly right, that your body, whether you're doing something right or wrong, your body's going to give you those bodily sensations that you just, a healthy mind would understand the difference between right or wrong. And if your mind is not connecting and giving you the signal, your body will, and probably shouldn't be ignored. Should probably.
Yeah, it's funny because you hear all the time that of like, I had a feeling about this, or I had this gut feeling all day, whatever. And it's funny how often it's right.
Sure, absolutely. So again, this wasn't the podcast I necessarily had in mind, because when we were originally going to do this, the social circumstances were different.
Sure.
But since we're this really applies to any situation, but even more importantly now, I think that this could be, with most things, we have to try to make a little bit of lemonade out of the lemons. And it might be an opportunity for people to put an emphasis and focus into mindfulness where maybe they were too busy to take that opportunity before. Now, I also don't want to be presumptuous and think that just because of the social circumstances that everybody has extra time on their hands. I know that that's not the case for everyone. Yes, a lot of people are laid off of work, furloughed, out of a job, some very stressful circumstances, and you may have extra time. On the other hand, there's with school being out in most cases, you may have less time on your hands because you're putting more time attending to children. And also in some circumstances with essential workers, they might be working more than usual and in even more stressful circumstances. So,
and still having to homeschool children too.
Yeah,
I mean, it definitely is like, even with us, I almost am finding that I feel like I don't know how it's possible to feel as though I am busier now than we were before, but I feel like we're busier now than we were before.
Sure, it's just it's the focus of the energy is in completely different areas.
Yeah.
So even I would maybe go out on a limb and say that regardless of time, where everybody's time is being spent, the level of stress is probably increased in all
sure.
in everybody's circumstances. So if the time is available, then you would want to try to take advantage of that time and in getting that mind. So when we talk like exercise, we talk mind muscle connection. This is like, we're talking like mind brain connection, mind emotion connection, and trying to manage those stressors. And if you can maybe develop some practice, some technique with that, get some experience how to manage those emotions, manage those thoughts, manage those feelings now, it can serve you even better down the road, because there will always be more other opportunities for stress to arise throughout your life. So maybe this would be the time to try to put some focus to that.
Well, yeah, if you can learn in this situation how to manage your stress, I'm fairly confident. I mean, I shouldn't generalize and say across the board, because there are, I'm sure, other circumstances, but this is a pretty
challenging.
Yeah, well, yeah, this is a pretty challenging situation. And at least I think part of the issue that I know that I have, because I told you, I don't know if it was yesterday or maybe this morning, I can't even keep track of the days anymore. But I think for somebody who has always dealt with some level of anxiety and kind of learned to manage it for the most part, for me, I can feel almost like the heaviness in my chest. Do you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And that has been, I think, part of the issue that I have is that that I don't have any control over any of this.
Whoa.
I mean, to a certain, no, I don't mean this. I mean, I don't have control over the fact that we're not able, the circumstances. Okay. Yes. Not my feelings. I should be clear about that. Okay. Right. I am fully.
We're going to have an argument right on the podcast.
It's all right. They can see me come flying into the room and tackle you. But do you know what I'm saying? Like, I realize that I have control over my feelings and emotions, but the circumstances are not in my control. And that's something that I have to learn to accept so I can start managing my emotions a little bit better.
Sure.
But I think acknowledging that and realizing that is like one of the key components over that, because, some of the things that I know that I'm continuing to get frustrated about, the circumstance is still not in my control. So to continue to let the pot brew, I'm the only one, I'm hurting myself.
Right.
Nobody else is. I mean, I think I've done a pretty good job for the most part of not taking it out on you guys, for being in such close quarters in this apartment. I think that we're actually doing really well, to be completely honest.
I would say so.
But for all intents and purposes, in trying to manage that heaviness in my chest and also my focus levels, because what I'm finding, like some of the things that I enjoy doing, like, that I love to read. And I don't know if you've seen me pick up a book, because every single time that I try to, it's like reading a textbook where I read the paragraph, nothing processes. I read the paragraph, nothing processes, because my focus is still, it's like my mind is still wandering about these circumstances that I can't control.
Right. So with any loss, right, there's the 5 stages of grief
Mm-hmm.
that anybody's going to go through. So there's denial, bargaining, anger, depression, acceptance. Not necessarily in that order, and you're not necessarily in each of those individually. There's a lot of crossover. Sometimes you're in multiple stages, but generally that's the order. And sometimes you make some progress forward, and then you make a step back, and so on and so forth. But so, obviously denial. Oh my God, this isn't happening.
I was there. I kept on waiting to be like, I'm going to wake up. This is a nightmare. This can't be happening.
Yeah, they'll have this straightened out next week, tomorrow, whatever. So there's denial. There's the bargaining, which would be, again, this. Well, if this happened, we'll be okay next week. This is going to change. You're trying to, you're trying to figure things out, and then when you start to realize that, no, this is not going to get better anytime soon. We're trending in the opposite direction.
Sure.
And the reality starts to set in of the repercussions. Then, of course, anger, which is my least favorite. I hate going through it, but you have to go through it.
Yeah.
Get angry, and this is what I see. You start to see, obviously within oneself, but that's when you're on the social media and you start to see people pointing fingers and getting angry with each other. And of course, yeah. I don't want to get angry at people I like.
Sure.
So I start seeing, you start to see people, spewing venom, and for all different reasons. So there's that. And then there comes depression, where people start to feel like the situation is hopeless. They start to do, anyway, ourselves included, you start to do things like, oh, who cares? Let's, forget the business aspect of it. Just be like, okay, so I can't exercise, I can't do this. You start thinking about what you can't do.
Yeah.
So you do, you self-inflicted damage. So you just start eating like crap.
Right.
And you might feel, you get a little rush off of that. And then people are just, to deal with the stress, they might start drinking, or even worse, there's people that have a lot of other addictions, a lot of worse addictions, and maybe those things start to creep back in because you're going through the anger
and if you, when if you haven't gotten to a point of stability, especially if you're some kind of recovering addict of any kind, you don't get to, and I'm sure it's a battle even if after years, but you always defer back to what you know is going to make you feel better.
Sure. And that could be food for a lot of people.
Right. Absolutely.
Sugar.
And yeah, I very much so think it is. I had a conversation with a friend, and she made a comment about feeling like she's eating her emotions.
Yeah.
And I even said, think about as you're a kid, you fall, scrape your knee, grandma says, let's go get ice cream, that'll make it feel better. or, you win your sporting event. After softball games, when I was growing up, we'd go get ice cream after. So you start to associate the food with the emotions, which is, I don't want to go too off track, but then you start to divert back to what you think is going to make you feel better, even if it's on a short term basis.
Sure.
I think that when you're feeling, especially if you get to a point of depression and you're feeling feelings of hopelessness, you just want something that is going to make that pain stop, even if it's only for 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of emotional reinforcement with food. The other thing I think people are, could be now very disoriented, especially when somebody's routine is completely turned upside down. And I think people are generally creatures of habit. You're used to getting up, going to work, having your regular morning routine. That's taken away from you. If your livelihood's been taken away from you, the emotions, the anger, what you want, the things you enjoy, whether it's just going, the socializing and going to restaurants and meeting friends, all these things really, people, you get disoriented. And then if you are spending, again, too much time possibly with the television, different forms of media and mediums like social media, and you're
Sure.
getting all this mixed messaging, and you don't know how to interpret it. This is good for you. This is bad for you. You should be doing this. You should be doing that. Stay home, go outside, wear a mask, don't wear a mask. It don't help. You're getting, whatever it is,
Yeah.
all this mixed information, your brain, and it's happening very, very fast, day to day, sometimes within the same day, recommendations are changing, and, stay home till this day. Now the date changed and the goalposts keep moving. So you're getting this, this intermittent reinforcement. Okay, I think we're getting out of this. Oh my God, it's getting worse. So, we'll be out by next week. Oh my God, the curve isn't flattening, blah, blah, blah. So people are really getting whipped. You're getting whiplashed.
Yeah. Yeah. Whiplashed is a nice way to put it. It's kind of like, I don't think they have them anymore. I don't think Looney Tunes is on, but what is it? The Road Runner, where it's like, he's constantly chasing and like chasing after it and the road just doesn't end.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about? That's exactly what it feels like. It's just like, we're looking like, oh, we think that the end is near and all of a sudden it's pushed back again. Or like, do you know what I mean? It's
right. So
it's bizarre.
It can really fog a person's ability to think. And when it's hard to think through, people then tend to get emotional. And then when emotions take over, that's when you can very easily get into these up downs of anger and sadness and back and forth. And I was thinking about this earlier today. I was having a conversation with my brother, and we were talking about, this subject of people, they don't know what to make of what's going on because there's a mixed bag of information.
Yeah.
Whether intentional or unintentional, it's not the point. The point is that there's mixed information. And I agree that for the most part of people's lives, they've been getting mixed information. And if you don't believe me, just think about how many times when somebody says, I just don't know what to eat. I don't know what to eat anymore. Think about all the mixed information just on diet and nutrition, right?
Yeah.
Eggs
absolutely.
Eggs will kill you. Eggs are okay. Watch your cholesterol. Eat fat. Eat low carbs. Watch your sugar. There's just grains you should be eating. The food pyramid should be the base of your pyramid. Don't eat any grains. Fruit has
it's
too
so
much
all
sugar.
over the place.
It's all over the place, and that should be one of the absolute most basic fundamentals that everybody should have the most clear understanding on, is how to feed one's own body, mind. It's because it's all interconnected, and it's probably one of the most controversial subjects out there. For every I can name a food, and you're gonna get contrary.
That's bad. Don't eat it.
Right.
That's great. You should just live off of that.
Right. Some
Both
people
ends.
will call it a superfood. Some
Yeah.
people tell you it's going to kill you. You know, think of everything from, which I've been posting a little bit on my social media, old commercials, television commercials with doctors smoking and what cigarettes doctors recommended. You know, so just as an example. And then I've showed old commercials for margarine, you know, which is loaded with trans fats, but you know, it'll lower your cholesterol. The trans fats will kill you, but it'll lower your cholesterol. And now, you know, cholesterol is no longer a nutrient of concern. So you're constantly getting this through marketing, through media. You're getting misinformation, disinformation, and it clouds people's judgments about some of the most fundamental aspects of being a human being, straight across the board. And now with this, you know, social situation that people are in, being you know, for better or worse, quarantined, for lack of a better term, you know, however you want to, you know, frame it, but sitting in front of computers, phones, and televisions, being inundated in a very concentrated dose of misinformation, disinformation, the person's brain is being broken. There's no other way to put it, but they're breaking a person's brain. And no different than people that have been subjected to mental torture. I don't care if it's concentration camp techniques, but when
Waterboarding.
What's that?
You said it's like we're getting waterboarded.
Yeah, but that's a form of physically breaking somebody. But there's also mental techniques where they use this intermittent reinforcement, where you know you get rewarded, then you do the same thing, and next time you get punished for it.
Yeah,
it's all kind of, but I think a lot of people are experiencing, not to get too far off the topic, but a lot of people are experiencing that same feeling. You know, it's just the
100%.
The medium is just different. So the mindfulness, how do you, I guess the question then, which we need to address, is how do you break that? How do you reinstate some mindfulness to give yourself a little bit of peace so you can begin to start thinking your way through situations again, and not just being reactive, over emotional, picking teams, picking sides, looking for false idols and leaders, where the answers are within you. Everybody has the ability to lead themselves. And if everybody can do that, I got a feeling that we're all going to meet somewhere in the middle
ground. Yeah.
Same place. But you have to be able to think for yourself. And think.
You know, so I think that there's a couple things to that. You know, in this, when we just had our meeting with, and we were chatting with Allie and Maureen, you know, I made a comment and I said that everyone's heart is hard. It's just different. And I think if we can come to an agreement on that everyone's situation is different in its own way, then I think that might be a good opportunity for us to, some of the arguing to stop. Do you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
That's something that I've noticed. Everyone is fighting about who has it worse. And everyone's heart is hard. It's all just relative to the person and how they're going through it, how they're intercepting it. Everyone has different circumstances. We don't know the full story, the people of what they are dealing with, what they're going through. And instead of focusing on what everybody else is doing and what everybody else has going on and who's doing what down the street, who's doing what in the store, who's riding down in their car with what, instead of focusing on what everybody else is doing and what's going on in their head, I think if we started looking a little bit inwardly, that might be a really good place to start, instead of, like I said, finding some sympathy and empathy, and at least have an understanding that everyone's going through something. And this is not circumstantial. That's a life. I will generalize that across the board. And I think that people forget that more often than I would like to think, that I know that it's the fact that, you know, we're all just human beings. And I think no matter where you stand on any of this, that's what this needs to come back to. And
So
I think once we do that and start focusing on ourselves, that's a good place to start.
I would say a question that everybody really has to ask themselves first and foremost is, and I believe that if you had the opportunity to have conversation, and I don't deem conversation text message,
Sure.
social media, Twitter, I mean face-to-face conversation. Even if you were able to converse the way we are now through Zoom, where somebody can, um, where you can hear the tone of my voice, get my
Yeah.
emotional tone, my facial expression, that would still, I would say, is good enough. I think
Hmm.
face-to-face conversation would even be better
Of course.
because there's a whole different set of circumstances to having to face somebody, and you'll get a better idea of my body posture
Yeah.
and distancing. There's a whole other
Yeah. 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 The way
form
you're
of
tilted towards a person, everything. Yeah.
communication. But
Sure.
for all intents and purposes, this would be much better than through any other type format. I think if people were able to deal civilly in that manner, you would find that most people agree on most things.
Hmm.
It would be more common ground, and people would get a better understanding of each other. And
Yeah.
you would realize that you're not you're fighting about minutia, things that way off in the weeds, but the most important fundamentals would be there for most. I think in most circumstances, I would give most people that benefit of the doubt. But the question I
Sure.
think that everybody has to ask themselves is what type of person that they are. And you know, I say
I
this
was going to say, I know where this one's going.
constantly, that
Yeah.
there are only two types of people in the world: those that want to be left alone and those that will not leave you alone. And you are one or the other. It's impossible to be both just by the nature of the statement. And if you want to be sovereign, free, and that does not mean that you have, again, if you want to be left alone, that means you cannot infringe on somebody else. You can't put somebody else at risk. You can't hurt somebody. You can't, so I think a lot of times people misinterpret that as you want to be somebody that's left alone, that you want to be an anarchist, that you feel like that you can just do whatever you want, you know, shit in a river, free. That's not what I'm saying at all.
Yeah. It doesn't mean that you have total disregard.
No, I believe in laws. I believe laws are there for a reason. You know, I believe in a form of government, and there should be social order. I'm all about it. But those things have to be in place to allow people to have freedom, not as a form of control. And if you're the type of person that thinks that you need to control, or better than another individual, you really need to take a good look at the type of person that you are. That if you think you know what's better for my life or Jill's or anybody else's, that then that might be very dangerous thinking. Um, Even if somebody who I might not regard as you know intellectually smart, maybe even not has high morals, that still does not that is not a measure or a reason why I should be able to dictate how they should be living their life. It's because it's it's their choice. I might not agree with it, but as long as it doesn't infringe on me, that's the beauty of it, that they are able to choose. I might, again, we don't all have to agree on those things. It's not about agreeing. It's about it's about letting people make their own choices. And some people will make choices and they'll fall down, and they're going to have to learn to dust themselves off. It's no different than somebody that, if you eat pizza and drink beer every day, I'll go out on a limb and say chances are that's going to degrade your health, right? It's probably not, or even worse, let's say you're, using illicit drugs, you're smoking, you're doing, something that's really going to pound the crap out of your health. It's not my business to tell you to tell you to stop. I would want you to stop because I think that the world will be a better place with you healthy in it, and because I love you and you're my friend, and or whatever the case may be. But it's not my it's not my role to force you to stop. I can't do that, because I don't want you to be able to come back and force me to say, I don't think you should eat red meat. And I'll be like, well, there's nothing wrong with red meat. And then we have to get into a pissing match about, you think that eating red meat is not morally right because you shouldn't, harm animals, and so on and so forth. And we can go back and forth, and it can come down to chewing gum. I don't think you should chew gum because you're going to give yourself TMJ, and then you're going to have to go to the dentist, and then my insurance is going to go up, because you can go just you can spin off in any direction that you want. So everybody needs to take some accountability, rein themselves in, and then work on their mindfulness to get themselves. And if everybody just does that, and everybody did that for themselves, which goes back to one more thing, Jill, it goes back to cleaning your room, right? This is one of the lessons.
Making your bed.
Making your bed. We just talked over with the kids. For a child, most of their childhood, they're told what to do from the minute they get up in the morning, right? Get up, eat breakfast, take a shower, get ready for school, get on the bus, go to homeroom, the bell rings, get up, go to your next class, pledge allegiance, sit down, stand up, read this, get home, go to after school activities, get home, sit down, eat dinner, go do your homework, go to bed, whatever. They're just, so they have very little control. They're being told what to do all day. But the one thing that hopefully they have control of is their bedroom. That's their little world. So we tried to emphasize, you have that space. You can pick what color you want it. You can decorate it. You can move the bed on this wall, put on this wall, hang this picture, keep it clean. This is your spot. It needs to be organized. This is your little world, right? Make your bed. Make sure that where you start and end your day is comfortable. It's organized. You can relax. You can think. You can enjoy yourself. And if you can't handle that little bit of space, if you don't have the discipline or the respect to clean that space where you're going to lie your head every day, you will never have the ability to go out into the real world and tell somebody else how to manage their life.
Anything. Anything.
You'll never be management. You will never, or you may be, but you're not going to be good at it, because there's a lot of bad managers. There's a lot of bad people in business. But if you want to be respected, you cannot go and start telling people what's morally right or wrong, socially right or wrong, if you can't even handle your own bedroom.
They've made their bed since we had that conversation. They made their bed every single day. It was like the first thing. That was like the first thing they did.
As you should. You shouldn't have the audacity to ask somebody or to project your morality on somebody else if you can't even handle that, as Sammy's messing up.
I'm literally watching the dog in the background.
My morality's going right in the drain.
Yeah.
It's doing that.
Thanks a lot, Sam.
Think of the mindfulness. It's going to be tough to center your thoughts, to center your thinking, if you're in constant disarray. And I've seen it. I've seen the selfies. I've seen the people, taking their pictures and posting it. And I don't think, I'm not judging, going, you couldn't have picked up the crap in the background before you did it? And you want me to take this seriously? That's just me. I can't take it seriously. If you can't even get that organized, how can I believe that your thoughts are organized and that your thinking is integrated into any kind of cohesive semblance of order that I should be taking seriously? That to me is step one of mindfulness. You have to start uncluttering and getting your surroundings together. And once that's together, and then you can start to focus on your emotions and think. But if you are in a constant battle with your own environment that you've created, it's going to be very, very hard for you to be on emotional solid ground, mental solid ground, much less be able to project that out into the world.
So really, to to uh, to summarize it, everyone should start and focus on themselves and what they can do and what they can control, which is themselves. It doesn't even make sense to try to put control over somebody, because
Not even control, just trying to project your morality.
sure. So with that, again, going back to what I said, having an understanding that at least with this, everyone's situation is difficult. Focus on yourself. I think also too, focusing, like I said, we can't control the circumstances, but we can always control how we respond to things. And that is something that we do have a choice and we do have control over. And I think by becoming an active participant in choosing the way you respond is also going to be very beneficial when it comes to your mindfulness. Because if you're choosing to constantly live in this space of where you're constantly being seen, like where you're constantly bitching and complaining, where you're constantly living in a state of negativity. And I'm not going to say that it doesn't take work, because I know that there are people who have, I don't want to say depression, because I think that people who are depressed, that's a different subject. That's, they're clinically depressed. That's different.
Sure.
I mean, people who cannot pull themselves out of a realm of negativity, and it takes work. And I think that that's where people get turned off a little bit when it comes to like the mindfulness, because honestly, I would say of any of the work that I've done physically, nutritionally, mentally, I think that I would say that the mental standpoint of all of it was probably the most difficult, because you have to actively remind yourself. You have to actually say, and I remember almost having conversations with myself saying, stop. You need to stop thinking like that. You need to stop being negative. You need to stop being so, degrading of yourself. You need to stop saying this, and kind of learning to reframe. And you can reframe your thoughts. And the more you do it, the more it becomes a habit, just like anything else. As you reframe and take the negative and find and verbally actually say and put the positive spin on it, you can learn to reframe your thoughts to where you kind of regain and reclaim a little bit of control as to what you're thinking, which then will also go hand in hand with the way that you feel as well.
Agreed. I think a big step toward that is controlling the environment, right? Your environment around you.
Sure.
Also, what you choose to pollute your mind with, whether it's social media, television, movies, music. We've talked about that. So all that is transmitting. Remember, your body's an antenna. You're putting that, if you're constantly inundating yourself with those negative things, now all you're doing is putting yourself in a situation where, okay, now I brought it in, now I have to deal with it. Might be a waste of time, right? You mean you have to deal with it, but you just brought something in that's going to be a bigger energy suck and drain, because now it's like watching it. It's like you're scared. You don't like scary movies, but you keep watching them, and then you can't sleep. It's like,
right.
You chose to watch it, so now you got to deal with it. Stop watching it, and you'll get a better night's sleep. To oversimplify things.
Sure.
I think a technique which is definitely not going to be for everyone, but I like the idea of cold showers, which I've
Yeah,
brought.
that's gonna be a no for
Yeah,
me.
yeah, it's not for everyone, but if you think of it this way, that is you're choosing, right? First of all, it's going to be short. It's not going to be too long. You're not going to know, but you're going to you have to control your breathing. It takes your breath away. You have to think your way through it during the shower. You can't just and you jump out. You have to be able to relax. You have to be able, like I said, control your breathing. You have to be able to mentally. You're feeling that. I'm talking ice cold, as cold as you can get the water.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I've tried it.
And if you can start to be calm under those circumstances, then when it's over, as soon as it's over, you're not cold anymore. You're actually invigorated, completely invigorated. And you feel refreshed and everything feels good. I'm telling you, it's true.
Yeah.
But that's a technique where if you started with 10 seconds, 20 seconds, get up to a minute, 2 minutes. By the time you get to a minute and a half, you'll go from a minute, minute and a half to as long as you need to. You'll be able to stay in forever. You can go for a half hour. If you can get past the minute mark a couple times, then it just is what it is.
Well, because you're numb by then.
Yeah, I would recommend when you go, and I always go head first. I want the water to get to the brain where I have to go head first. I put it on the front of my face, the back of my head, and once that coldness and the blood's going to rush to the brain, right? Because it's so cold, it's trying to get up there. There's a sense of euphoria, and then, like I said, the breathing, your heart starts pounding, and if you start
euphoria,
eventually, not immediately. But I'm just saying that's one technique.
Why can't we take like scorching hot showers? That's about where I live. Does that count?
No, not at all. I think it's the opposite. What you're doing is when you're doing those hot showers, you're putting yourself into an environment that is it's the cozy environment.
Yeah, I like the cozy environment.
Right, but it's not challenging. It's not going to challenge you physically or mentally. It's not going to. I think when you start to take those cold showers, and if you can do it regularly, you start your day with one step ahead of where you normally would have. It's like making your bed. It's like once you made your bed, boom, that's your first victory of the day. I got organized. Now on to the next thing. And if you did nothing else that day, you did something.
You turned yourself into an icicle.
Yeah, that's the same thing. You survived that. Chances are, hopefully that was the hardest part of your day. And if you can do that,
that's fair.
If you can get through that, you're ready to take on, the rest of your day. And
I'll stick with making the bed, I think.
Well, like I said, it's not for everyone, but I throw that out there as a challenge. Start with 10 seconds. I'm telling you, I don't just jump into a cold shower. I start with a regular shower and I get myself it's when I'm done showering, and then I'll take a couple, boom, colder, boom, colder, boom, all the way, and then I'm in. That's how I end the shower. I generally don't turn it ice cold and then try to jump in. I get acclimated and then in there. And I've also done tried the ice baths, which I haven't done in a while, but cold showers is enough. I think the other thing is meditation in the morning, which I need to get back into. I would actually set my phone, set an alarm for just 1 minute, start with 60 seconds, super easy, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Even if you just get to like 3-4 minutes every morning, it goes by so quick. But if it's just complete meditation and then follow that up with a cold shower, it works. Breathing.
Actually, in the morning, but I like the idea of evening meditation. I think if there's a way that you can kind of like clear out your day, which we can get into, I don't want to interrupt you. But like talking about like even journaling and just getting your own thoughts out.
Yeah, I have to admit, I mean, I haven't done that, but I think it's a great idea, and I would be open to trying it. But
Yeah, it's nice. And I think though, if you can focus, I like to what I've had some of my clients even do is look for three to five good things that happened, because I don't care if you had the absolute worst day in the entire world. You can, if you dig, you can find at least three things that are good. I mean, even on some of the worst, absolute worst days that I've had in my life, I've always been able to find, whether it was, just an appreciation for, a connection that I made with somebody, or that I woke up that day. Sometimes the fact that you're just grateful that you were able to wake up, like, who knows, everyone's a little bit different, but being able to find the good, I think, towards the end of your day is also a good way to kind of go to bed with a little bit of peace of mind. And I've heard, people have told me that it's kind of put their mind that usually is stewing at the end of the night. That kind of helps put it to lie it to rest before they go to bed.
I can see that for some people. I think for me, by the time I get to that point in my day, I'm toast.
Oh yeah, you're toast.
And I wouldn't be able to do that with any consistency.
Yeah.
I know that in the morning, I would be more apt to get into a routine with the cold shower or meditation in the morning when I'm fresh. Of course, I build into my routine enough time to do those things. So for me, being more of a morning person, that would work better. And I think,
Yeah.
each individual, based on, they would know best, but my only suggestion
Sure.
would be is, don't set yourself up for failure. If you know that you're like me, don't try to do something like that. Commit to doing something at night like that when you know it's going to be very, very hard for you to maintain. Even if it's something that maybe is easier midday for you.
Yeah.
If you work by yourself in an office, you work from home, and you can do it on a lunch break. And
Yeah.
you're like, I always
any of these things.
Yeah, I diddle around for 45 minutes. Well, maybe that's a good time for you to try some kind of mindful practice.
I think that that's some, just generally, whether it is, exercise or anything like we're talking about, people feel like they have to, like, I have to do this in the morning. I have to start getting up, or I have to do this in the evening. The best thing that you can do is pick a time that you're actually going to do it. It doesn't matter what time of day. Everyone, there's nothing wrong with being honest with yourself and saying, like, well, I'm not a night person. I'm done for the day by the time I get to this point. Or there's no way in hell that I'm waking up at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. Or, I have this midday lull, but I just feel like I am, like, completely drained from this hour to this hour. Those might not be optimal times to try to embark on these things,
Don't put a stick on a square.
Right. So, that's something to keep in mind for people to keep in mind too, is that, as you're trying to learn and develop these new habits, you want to try to go and go with the flow, I guess, of what is going to be possible, instead of trying to go against and having the odds work against you.
Yeah. Go with what you think you can be consistent and compliant with. I don't know. That's about all I got, Joe.
Yep. Did the dog destroy the bed? Do I have to come and make the bed again? Yep. Yep.
All right. So we will pick up next week with episode 13. Thanks for hanging in there with us. Everyone stay healthy, stay safe. Come join us tomorrow night on our Facebook page. We'll do something a little less heavy. Maybe we'll get back to a music show on
music time.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a little music time. It'll be fun. Reconnect with some people over some music, and I think everybody can use a little fun session.
Comic relief.
Yeah. Hey, big props for Joe Goretti for taking us to school on the last episode. Man, I thought we had him. We didn't get a single vote.
I think that we thought we had them, but everybody else is like,
Yeah.
that's why we have to listen to, that's why we take into account their suggestions and not our own, because
Obviously people have different tastes.
yeah.
All right, guys. See you
Yeah.
next week.